we launched the coalition in '09 or something like that. And that year we thought it was going to be a done deal. You know, we were so close. Everything seemed to be lined up. And it didn't happen. It was Eddie Goldman had said, he was sitting on a panel, and then he had said, look, if any movement is going to be really made with this, we need to have more grassroots presence and cooperation, not just the lobbyists that are obviously have their self-interest and whatnot. It started the end of '09, I guess, with a letter campaign that I put on YouTube, a video of myself mailing letters to all our, legislators about what they need to do, and then it grew out of that. There were parties that were in New York that had nothing to do with unions, that had a nice cushy position because of the old law, that publicly were supporting, the lifting of the ban, but behind the scenes were not supporting it, because they were getting let's just say a hall pass into running their own combat sports events under the old law. And they knew that if the new law came into effect and the commission started overseeing combat sports, then they would lose their monopolies and stuff. Public image was always an issue. I mean, the Catholic Church lobbied against us. I mean, everybody did. So it was not just the unions, although the unions were clearly a big factor. The early days of the MMA scene in New York, I mean, there was, before it was banned, I was almost kind of just entering that world and just training. And then by the time I had my first fight, it was banned. And then at that time, the Underground Combat League started to take shape, which was a venue that a lot of guys took advantage of. I didn't personally, but there was a lot of that going on. My former partner, Mark Negron, we used to run this show at Gleason Gym called the Battle of Brooklyn. And we couldn't do MMA, but we could do grappling and we could do combat, kickboxing and everything else. So we used to do, it was like the first mixed art show that was taking place in New York City. By, 2000, New Jersey started regulating MMA, the pros. And then by 2006, I believe, New Jersey was the first state to regulate amateurs. And then everybody went across the river to start doing their amateur shows in New Jersey and other states, and New York got left behind. We would have trouble selling tickets, which, as you know, for the early pros, that's a big part of their income because the purses are so low. Only our hardcorest of fans would make the trip. So hopefully that will change. So the very first MMA show in New York, in the Garden, was won by my guy, Thomas Doyle. So there's a shout out for Tommy. He was actually the very first victorious MMA fighter at Madison Square Garden. Having said that, it's cool to walk by the marquee and see like the UFC up there, A big part of the craziness was how New York State would interpret the ban. Were the amateurs banned? Were they not banned? And under what circumstances were they banned? So there were times since the ban where amateurs were allowed and then disallowed. So it was pretty crazy. But eventually, because of the constitutional lawsuit backed by Zuffa against New York State admitted in open court, I was actually there for that the amateurs were legal, just not under the jurisdiction of the Athletic Commission. But once that happened, the MMA scene just blew up. I mean, to the point where I think last year there were like 70 amateur shows in New York State. The fear is that we'll have a dynamic like we did in the past, where the law says if you want to hold a grappling tournament in New York City or New York State, you need to get a promoter's license, you need to demonstrate all these insurance minimums. I guess really what people are worried about is the fact that the state now has the capability to come in and shut down any show they want. Every June after the legislative calendar ended, ask all my friends. I was like, F this, I'm done. Somebody else can pick up the gloves. I don't want to do this anymore. And I seriously tried to back away. I felt like, like Pacino in The Godfather. Like every time I try to get out, they try to pull me back in. I was invited to the signing of the bill with Cuomo, so I was right there in the front row. That was awesome. And after that, I kind of was like, now I can really step away from this, let other people, address the new battles that have to happen. And there are battles that have to happen regarding regulation of amateur combat sports in New York, but other people can do it.